Hello.
Hi.
I am here today with my lovely client Dawn, who is just going to tell everyone a little bit about how we've been working together and what it's like to work with me, really. So, Dawn, over to you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and who you work for and all of that jazz.
Yeah, sure. Okay. I'm group marketing manager for Rhopoint Holdings. We're a group of companies involved in manufacture, distribution, and B2B sales of technical products. I've worked at Rhopoint for a long time, more years than probably I care to remember. And I've had the pleasure of working with you, Tracy, for the last 4 years.
We have, haven't we? And we have quite an interesting story about how we first met.
How honest do you want me to be?
As honest, yes, I think full on honesty. Why not? Let's go for it.
Full on honesty. Okay, so I think I first met you must have been about 7 or 8 years ago. Our kids are about the same age, and we met at the birthday party of a mutual friend's small son. And my first encounter of Tracy was having a little bit of a meltdown at the end of the birthday party when the kids were sugared up and tired. And her comment was, "For God's sake, Mummy's trying as hard as she possibly can." And I thought, yeah, I can relate to you a lot. And that was the beginning of a wonderful friendship.
It was, and yeah, how much has changed since then?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
The kids have just got bigger, but I think the sentence is the same.
Totally true. Yeah. So our discussion sort of progressed from, my God, how annoying it is to have small children, to what do you do for a living? And then when you said to me that you were a graphic designer, I looked at your portfolio, we discussed your history and how it may fit within the requirements of what Rhopoint needed at the time. And we got a match.
We did, and it was quite nice because I came down to your HQ, which isn't actually that far from me, really.
No, Felbridge is not that far from where you are. So
No, so that was an extra bonus, and I met everyone there as well. So you guys all made me feel at home. So thank you for that.
no problem. You're part of the team now.
I am, and that's I think one of the benefits of what you say of working with me is like even though I'm freelance, it's a bit like a team.
Yeah, really it is. Yes, you are definitely an extension of our marketing department. We have 4 people who concentrate on website design, systems, marketing information systems, and your graphic design skill set is the missing piece of our department puzzle, really.
Thank you. So I've got a few questions here for you. I think some of those you've already covered. Is like, but I guess in a bit more detail, would be like to know why was it that you were looking for a designer and why didn't you have one in house?
We were working with another freelance graphic designer prior to starting to work with you. We've always felt that having freelance designers work well for us, because then when we have specific projects, we can request extra hours, and then perhaps some things a little bit lighter, we can scale back. But it also provides us the opportunity to work with someone who's constantly refreshing their skills, looking at outside training, and also what I think is really important is working with other clients, so you can share some of your success stories that you've had with other people and introduce that into our business, which I think is really important.
Yeah, and it's really interesting actually you say that because yeah, I am on a constant a bit of a magpie with learning actually. I'm always on the latest course and things because it does help everyone. It's not just me. I enjoy keeping my brain up to date a little bit, but it's also nice to pass that knowledge on to my clients.
Yeah, great.
So what was it about what did you actually need the designer to do at first, or me obviously in that case? I think we started working on some data sheets, didn't we?
Yeah, that was the first requirement, because one of our companies is a manufacturing business, so it's really important for us to technically present our products properly, but also be able to present them in a way to be appealing to an audience that was 90% of them may not have English as their first language. So that was important. And what attracted me to you was the fact that you'd done work with technical products in the past, so you understood how to present those and how to get that message across to the audience.
Yeah, because I think it is a fine balance, isn't it, between not only just making something look nice for the sake of it, but it has to make sense to the person reading it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Especially if they're looking for certain information, it needs to be clear and they need to know where to find that quite easily.
Absolutely, yes.
So moving on to my next question was, what kind of problems before I came along was your team having with design? Was there like a break in between the other freelancer and me, or were you
Yeah,
doing
there
it
was
yourselves?
a short break in between the two. But I think for us, the main problem was that we didn't have a really coordinated approach from our other designer at all. So the way that you presented yourself to us with the structure of having project management, so that we could see exactly where you are on each one of the projects that you're working on for us, that was really important.
Yeah, because there are a lot of projects.
I was looking at our numbering system, and I think we're up to 400 and something over the last 4 years. So that's
Yes.
great.
Yeah, so with that in mind, it is really important to be able to track each project. We've got so many sometimes on the go at different stages.
Mhm.
I think it's just important for all of us really working on it to know where a project is at a glance. So
Absolutely, yes. And in case you ever need to go back on something, we need to have that history and traceability as well.
yeah, definitely. Because it's so it's so easy to forget exactly what you've done, isn't it? Even something from last week, sometimes you're like, what was I doing?
Know it well.
So is there anything that would put you off hiring a designer and like, or would generally off put you with something?
So you mean sort of what would be a little bit of a turn off, really?
Yeah,
Um, I would think somebody that's doesn't have any structure for starters,
yeah,
and somebody that's not familiar with the subject matter, because from our group of companies' point of view, we use you for everything from exhibition stand design. We've talked about data sheets. You also produce our manuals, our social media campaigns, our email marketing campaigns. I mean, the list is absolutely endless. So it's really good to have somebody who's had experience with that. But also, what we find now with a lot of graphic designers, not everyone's expert when it comes to setting things up for print.
yeah.
We also have a lot of custom materials that we do for print, not just business cards, but necessarily some packaging design that we need you to look at. So in those instances, it's really important that somebody understands what the printer requirements are.
I think you've raised quite
Well,
a interesting point actually, because as you know, I've had like a few junior designers work with me over the years, and that was one thing that came up, wasn't it? Is because it's lovely to have the experience of going to university and studying everything, but when you go into the real life and need to use these skills to send to print, yeah, it quickly became apparent that that was something that
we didn't
they just
know.
weren't taught. So I think that helped them. They were quite happy to be shown as well what to do, because that's helped them in their careers, because it is something that is lacking.
Yeah, absolutely. And a big shout out to Richard Oxford Colour, who always works in conjunction with us to produce everything really well.
Yes, he's very helpful in that respect. Yes. And you know, it's interesting because he takes the time to come round and show you and do mock-ups and things, which I think can be lost a little bit sometimes with all these online things like Vistaprint. Like they're very
Absolutely.
helpful and speedy, but sometimes you can't beat somebody in real life just showing you something that you can like just see how it works.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that's really helpful, not just from your point of view, but from my point of view when I'm seeing how something's structured.
Mhm.
I've got another question for you. So, how has working with me improved your role in the business itself? Is there what kind of benefits do you think it's had?
I'm more organised because you've got a system for us to work with. I'm organised. I know now what materials we can have when, what resource we've got available, which really does help with when we get urgent requirements fed into us from other business units, that we can then turn around and say, yep, we can do this. I can fit it in at the end of this week. Nope, we've got no capacity. That fits into next week's schedule or week after's schedule. So that's really very helpful for us. And also the fact that you understand our needs. I think because we've got this long history now, I can say to you, oh, Tracy, we need to create this campaign. Can you use some elements of this bring some of that in. And then if we look at our library of images, can you use a few of them from this particular section? And something comes together really quickly, which is great.
I think that's a good point you raised. We've been working together so long that I can kind of interpret your briefs.
The small ones, you mean? Yeah.
Yes. But because it's true, and like you can then just refer back, and I think as well, it's quite nice for me to have that little bit of input, because there might be something that you might not have thought about, or I might not have thought about. So when we work together, I think that's when the magic happens, really.
Definitely.
Combine the both. So and that's always really exciting when I'm doing all those bits as well, because yeah, I'm working on something in the past and we mix it up and I'm like, oh, and that could work and this could work.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. Great history to draw on now, yeah.
oh, definitely, definitely. All the good things as well, obviously. We won't mention anything else. So, and also, I guess, with the way that we're working, oh, I've got a cat jumping up in the background onto the top of the cupboard there. Bit of live action going on.
It adds authenticity, yeah.
It does, yeah. So I think the other thing that probably has worked quite well is because we've got that relationship, and you can give me the kind of short briefs and I know exactly what you mean. That must free you up with your work as well to do other bits that you've got going on.
Yeah, it does. It really does, because having to take time to write a very long and detailed brief, yeah, it doesn't really work. I think when we first started working together, you produced a really nice document, which was a brief for every project that we were going to go through. And very quickly, I think we just ripped it up and said, well, we kind of understand each other and we can do something on 3 to 4 lines rather than detailed brief in each section, which works fantastically.
Yeah, and I think for like the everyday projects that works. And if we have got something that is a bit more detailed, like we've been working on some larger projects together recently, that's when we can then have a call just to go through everything, or I'll pop into the office and we can go over things in a little bit more detail then, can't we?
Yeah, works perfectly.
Yeah. So in terms of everything else, is there anything in particular, like a story of success that springs to mind for something that we've worked on? Has there been anything that I've designed for you that has kind of stood out and helped with your sales and your promotion, that sort of thing?
I think the project that we will probably be talking about a little bit later is the one that springs to mind. And I think this is quite exciting because it's the first one that we've worked on, which is from start to finish. Because when you joined or joined the Rhopoint team, I'm going to say as an extended team member, we already had an established brand that we were working with. So our new project that we're going to talk about, that's one where we started creating the brand from scratch. And I think that this is our biggest success story to date.
Yeah, and I can't wait to be talking about that in a little bit more detail further on. That's going to be in another video, guys. So you'll have to look out for part 2.
Stay tuned.
So, and also, I guess from a lot of my people that I talk to that would like to be clients, they do ask about the ROI of a design as well. And that doesn't always have to necessarily mean a tangible money thing. It could just be that they've got new sales stuff for their sales guys to use that they feel confident about. Like, what would you say would be an ROI of working with me? Is there like anything tangible that comes to mind?
It's perception, really, brand image. When your materials look right, it does elevate your business. If you've got a consistent design throughout all your materials, your website, your data sheets, your manuals, everything that you produce is under this consistent, lovely looking brand, it just elevates and boosts your business.
Yeah, because I guess instead of kind of like, a lot of people say to me in the past, oh, we've got this, and we'd be like cringing as we're giving it out to somebody and everything. And that can really make a difference to how then either you or your sales guys are talking about that, because it comes through in the energy, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yes. And if you've got disjointed marketing materials, then you can't have a joined marketing strategy. The two things don't go together.
Yeah, that actually makes sense. I hadn't thought about that before. So that's quite interesting that you've mentioned that. So thank you. And last but not least, what would you say to anybody that is thinking about working with me or a designer in general, but me mainly?
Well, I think the hesitancy at first is people don't want to change, or you think, "Oh, I'm going to have to explain to somebody what my business is. They won't understand it. It's going to take me longer to give a brief than it is that I could, well, maybe just mock something up myself." But that's quite a short-termist attitude, I think, that you need to talk to somebody like you to understand what you can actually do for someone's business.
Yeah, and I think that's quite a good point actually that you said, because it is quite easy to focus on the short term, because we all want things done. We want them done quickly. We've got an idea in our heads, and to kind of spend the time and effort up front putting that in can seem a little bit daunting. But
Yeah.
Obviously, I've got stuff in place that, as you mentioned before, my briefing thing at the beginning, although we don't quite have used that as much now, but all of those things really do help make a difference, I think.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh,
And
so
it's worth the conversation.
it is, and I'm not scary, I don't think. And I think one of the main things I love working with you and the team is that we can have that little bit of banter, and sometimes you'll just see a message pop up on Teams, and it's nothing to do with work at all, really. It might be talking, quite a lot of our talk goes around food, really, doesn't it?
I knew it before you said it. Yes.
Yeah. And that's quite nice, because a lot of us work from home in the majority of the time, and to have that little banter every now and again, it's like meeting at the coffee machine, isn't it, or the water cooler thing. It's just that nice to have that interaction with somebody throughout the day.
It's lovely, yes.
Oh, well, thank you for your time today, and
Thank you.
yeah, we'll be doing another video very shortly.
Perfect.
But thank you for your time. I'm gonna
Thank you,
say
Susie.
goodbye for now.
Bye.
Bye.